Chapter 1. The Invitation I Almost Burned. The envelope sat on my desk between a stack of invoices and a coffee I had forgotten to drink. Ben picked it up before I could stop him. Mercer family reunion. That has to be a joke. Put it down. He looked at me. You haven't seen these people in 7 years. I know how long it's been. Then why are your hands shaking? They aren't. Ben held the envelope out. Ethan, I've watched you argue with contractors twice your size without blinking. This thing scares you. I took it from him and tore it open. The card was expensive, thick, cream-colored, and painfully familiar. My mother used the same paper for Christmas invitations when I was a kid. You are warmly invited. I read. Mercer family reunion. Saturday, 6 o'clock, Mercer Estate. Ben laughed once. Warmly. I tossed the card into the trash. There, I said. Problem solved. Ben leaned against my desk. Good. I returned to the renovation estimate on my laptop, but the numbers blurred. 7 years vanished, and I was 24 again, standing in my father's office while he held bank records like they were a murder weapon. Tell me where the money went, he had said. I didn't take it. $120,000 doesn't disappear. I know. Dean traced the access logs to your account. Then someone used my account. My father had stared at me like I was a stranger. Stop lying. I'm working. No. You're back there. I shut the laptop. I built a company because I had nothing else, I said. 3 employees became 26. 1 truck became 8. I paid every debt they left hanging over me. I'm fine. Ben's voice softened. I didn't say you weren't. I don't need them. I know. That house isn't home. I know that too. I stood and reached for the trash bin. Something on the back of the invitation caught my eye. Black ink. Handwritten. Come home, Ethan. There is something you were never told. Grandma Evelyn. My chest tightened. Ben read over my shoulder. That changes things. No, it doesn't. You love your grandmother. I loved a lot of people in that house. And she was one of the only ones who kept calling after you left. I folded the card. She stopped. You changed your number. I had reasons. Sure. But if Evelyn wrote that, she means it. I slipped the invitation into my desk drawer. I'm not going. Ben nodded. Okay. You don't believe me. Not even a little. My phone rang before I could answer him. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. Then I answered. Hello. For a few seconds, nobody spoke. Then a woman whispered. Ethan? My throat tightened. Ava. She breathed out sharply. You recognized me. You're my sister. I wasn't sure that still meant anything. What do you want? Did you get the invitation? Yes. Are you coming? No. Please. Ava, I'm not doing this. You have to. I don't have to do anything for that family. I know. Her voice cracked. That hurt more than I expected. I said, why are you calling from a number I don't know? Because Dad doesn't know I'm calling. My grip tightened around the phone. What is going on? I can't tell you like this. Then don't call me. Ethan, wait. I closed my eyes. She rushed on. Grandma has been pushing everyone for months. Dad hates it. Mom barely sleeps. Ryan keeps telling us you won't come. Ryan can keep guessing. This isn't about Ryan. Everything in that house became about Ryan. Silence. Then Ava said, please come. This time, don't leave before you hear everything. I felt anger rise fast. Last time I didn't leave, Ava. I was thrown out. I know. Dad called me a thief. I know. Mom watched. I know. Chloe gave back my ring. I know. And none of you came after me. Ava started crying quietly. I know, she said again. That's why you need to come. I wanted to hang up. Instead, I asked, what aren't you telling me? I'm sorry. For what? All of it. The call ended. Ben watched me carefully. Well, I stared at the invitation inside my desk. I'm going. He frowned. You sure? No. Then why? I picked up my keys. Because 7 years ago, they decided what the truth was before I had a chance to speak. I looked at Grandma's handwriting one more time. This time, I'm staying until they finish. Chapter 2. Everyone smiled like nothing happened. The Mercer estate looked smaller than I remembered. Maybe that was because I was no longer the son standing outside it with one duffel bag and nowhere to go. I parked beside a line of expensive cars and stayed behind the wheel. My phone buzzed. Ben, still time to fake your death. I typed back. Tempting. Before I could reconsider, the front door opened. Ava hurried down the steps. You came. I said I would. You also used to say you'd never come back. I meant that too. She stopped in front of me. For a second, neither of us moved. Then she hugged me. I stood stiffly before finally putting one arm around her. You got taller, I said. She laughed through tears. I was 20 when you left. Then maybe I got shorter. You still make terrible jokes. That survived. She pulled away. I'm glad something did. The words landed harder than she intended. I looked toward the house. Is everyone inside? Most of them. Ryan? Yes. Chloe? Ava hesitated. That answers it. Ethan, I wanted to warn you. About my ex-fiancée marrying my brother? I heard. No. About seeing them together. I'll live. The front door opened again. My mother stepped outside. For one moment, I forgot every speech I had prepared. Ethan. Mom. Linda Mercer looked older. Her hair had more gray, and her face seemed thinner. She walked toward me slowly, like she expected me to disappear. Then she wrapped both arms around me. I felt her shaking. My boy, she whispered. I stared over her shoulder. Don't. She pulled back. Don't what? Don't call me that like 7 years didn't happen. Her eyes filled immediately. I'm sorry. I didn't come for apologies. I know. Do you? She opened her mouth, but my father appeared in the doorway. Harold Mercer looked almost exactly the same. Straight back, controlled face, no wasted emotion. He came down one step. You look well. I laughed. That's it. What would you like me to say? I didn't know. Maybe. Good to see you, son. His jaw tightened. I wasn't sure how you wanted to be greeted. You figured it out pretty quickly when you threw me out. Ethan, Mom whispered. I held up a hand. Dad looked at me for a long moment. Come inside. Everyone is waiting. That sounds comforting. Ava touched my arm. Please. I followed them in. Relatives turned when I entered. Conversation died. Then Uncle Mark, my mother's cousin, raised a glass. Well, look who finally remembered us. I smiled without warmth. I remembered everyone. That was the problem. A few people looked away. Then I heard a voice behind me. Long time. I turned. Ryan stood near the fireplace in a navy shirt, smiling like he had won something. Chloe stood beside him. My chest went cold. She looked almost the same, except the softness I remembered had become caution. Ryan stepped forward and offered his hand. Brother. I stared at it. Long time, he repeated. I shook his hand. Not long enough. His smile tightened. Chloe said, Ethan. Chloe, I didn't know if you'd come. Neither did I. Ryan put an arm around her waist. The gesture was deliberate. I looked at him. Still need to prove something? What does that mean? You know exactly what it means. Can we not do this today? I smiled. You invited me. Dad's voice came from behind us. Enough. I turned. I just got here. That is exactly why I'm asking everyone to behave. Everyone. His eyes hardened. Before he could answer, Grandma Evelyn called from the sitting room. Ethan. I forgot Ryan immediately. Grandma sat in her old chair by the window. I crossed the room and knelt beside her. She touched my face. You took too long. You could have called. So could you. That's fair. Her eyes stayed on mine. You look like your grandfather. I'll take that as a compliment. You should. She squeezed my hand. Around us, conversation started again, too loudly. Grandma lowered her voice. Did you read what I wrote? Yes. Then listen carefully. My heartbeat changed. Grandma, what is this about? She glanced toward my father. He was watching us. She leaned closer. What happened 7 years ago was not what you were told. I stared at her. What does that mean? It means you deserve the truth then. My mouth went dry. And now? Grandma's fingers tightened around mine. Now, they're finally going to give it to you. Chapter 3. My brother was never the innocent one. I stared at Grandma. Say it. Before she could answer, my father crossed the room. Mother, dinner is ready. Grandma did not look away from me. I'm speaking to Ethan, and you can continue later. I stood. No. She can continue now. Dad's expression tightened. Not here. Why? Too many witnesses? A few conversations nearby stopped. Grandma sighed. Harold. Dad lowered his voice. This is a family reunion, not a courtroom. I almost laughed. That's rich. Ava moved closer. Dad, let her talk. Ryan appeared beside him. What's going on? I looked at Ryan. That's what I'm trying to find out. Ryan shrugged. Maybe don't start a fight 5 minutes after arriving. I'm not starting anything. Dad pointed toward the dining room. We eat first. Grandma squeezed my arm. Go, she said quietly. I'll tell you after. I hated it, but I nodded. Dad raised his glass. To family. I stared at mine. Grandma did not lift hers either. Uncle Mark said, and to Ryan, the company had another strong quarter. Ryan smiled. Couldn't have done it without the team. How many locations now? 6. I looked at him. 6. Ryan met my eyes. You didn't know? No. We expanded. So I heard. Dad added. Ryan worked hard. I almost choked on my drink. Ryan leaned back. Something funny? I was just remembering. Remembering what? Grandpa opening the first door at 6 in the morning and making me sweep the loading dock. Ryan smiled thinly. Good times. You wouldn't know. Ava whispered. Ethan. I kept looking at him. You were usually asleep. Ryan's face hardened. Dad said, Enough. I put down my fork. I worked there from 16 until the day you threw me out. Dad said nothing. I knew every supplier, every delivery route, every employee. Ryan showed up when he needed money. Ryan laughed. Still bitter? I'm accurate. Chloe touched his wrist. Let it go. The front door opened in the hall. A man's voice called, Sorry I'm late. Well, he said, look who's back. I stood slowly. Dean. He smiled too widely. Ethan, you look successful. You sound surprised. Not at all. You should. You told everyone I was a thief. The table went silent. Dean set the bottle down. I reported what the record showed. You reported what you said the record showed. He frowned. We went over this years ago. No. You talked. I got blamed. Dad stood. Not tonight. I looked at him. Why does everyone keep saying that? Dean raised both hands. I'm not here to fight. Then don't lie. His smile vanished for 1 second. That was enough. I saw fear. Small, quick, but real. After dinner, I stepped outside before I said something I could not take back. Cold air hit my face. A minute later, the door opened. Ava came out. You okay? No. Fair. I leaned against the railing. What was Grandma going to tell me? Ava looked toward the windows. I don't know everything. That sentence is getting popular tonight. I know something. I turned to her. Then say it. She crossed her arms tightly. 7 years ago, Ryan owed money. What kind of money? Gambling. I stared at her. How much? I don't know exactly. A lot. Why didn't I know? He hid it. From everyone? Not everyone. My chest tightened. Who knew? Ava swallowed. I heard Dad and Uncle Dean arguing in the study. When? A few weeks after you left. I stepped closer. What did they say? Dad said Ryan had already lost too much. Dean said if anyone found out, everything would come apart. What does that have to do with me? Ava's eyes filled. I didn't understand then. And now? She looked down. Now I think I do. Say it. Ethan, I'm sorry. Stop apologizing and tell me. She finally looked at me. Dad said protecting the family mattered more. I stared at her. More than what? Her voice broke. More than clearing your name. I could barely breathe. You knew this. Not all of it. How long? I started putting it together later. And you said nothing? I was scared. So was I. I know. No, Ava. I was alone. Tears slipped down her face. I know. I stepped back. For 7 years, I had wondered what evidence I missed. Now one question replaced all the others. If Ryan had debts, and Dad knew, then maybe I had never been the real problem. I looked through the window at my brother laughing beside my father. Then I asked Ava the question that terrified me. Was Ryan the one who stole the money? She whispered, I think Dad knows. Chapter 4. The Lie That Destroyed My Life. I did not sleep that night. By 7 the next morning, I was standing outside my father's study. The door was open. Dad looked up from his desk. You're awake early. I learned that from Grandpa. His mouth tightened. Come in. I shut the door behind me. No interruptions. What is this about? You know. I know several things you could be angry about. Then let's start with Ryan. Dad leaned back. What about him? Did he steal the money? Silence. I waited. He looked toward the window. That was all I needed. Oh, God, Ethan. He did. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. I stepped closer to the desk. Say it. Dad rubbed his forehead. This is complicated. No. $120,000 disappeared. I was accused. You threw me out. Did Ryan take it? Part of it. The room seemed to tilt. I gripped the back of a chair. How much? About $80,000. And the rest? Dean moved funds through several accounts. Some of it covered losses. Some of it covered Ryan's debts. I stared at him. Dean helped him? Yes. And Dean was the one who said my access records proved I did it. Yes. I laughed, but no humor came out. So they stole the money, changed the records, and pointed at me. Dad said, it was not that simple. It sounds incredibly simple. Dean had control of the financial system. Ryan was desperate. They panicked. And I paid for their panic. Dad stood. I did not know the truth that night. I froze. What? I believed the records. For how long? He looked away. How long? A few months. My chest tightened. 3. Closer to 4. I stared at him until my eyes burned. You found out 4 months after I left. Yes. And then? I confronted them. What did Ryan say? He broke down. And Dean? He admitted changing the logs. I walked away from the desk because I wanted to put my fist through it. So you knew? Yes. You knew I was innocent? Yes. For nearly 7 years. Dad's voice dropped. Yes. I turned back. Why didn't you call me? He said nothing. Why didn't you tell Mom to find me? Still nothing. Why didn't you tell the police? Because the company was already unstable. I stared at him. That is your answer? If the truth became public, we could have lost contracts, lenders, everything. So hundreds of people depended on us. Don't hide behind employees. I am not hiding. You are. Dad's voice hardened. Ryan would have faced charges. He should have. He was 22. I was 24. You were stronger. I stopped breathing for a second. What did you say? Dad's face changed. I meant you could survive starting over. You thought I was strong enough to survive being branded a thief? That is not what I meant. You let me lose my job. I know. You let relatives stop speaking to me. I know. You let Chloe leave. His eyes dropped. I know. I slammed both hands on his desk. You destroyed my life because you thought I could take it. I made a terrible decision. No. A decision lasts a moment. You made the same decision every day for 7 years. He flinched. Good. I wanted him to. He said, I was trying to keep the family together. You didn't keep it together. You chose which son to sacrifice. That is not fair. I laughed. Fair. My fist tightened. For one terrible second, I wanted to hit him. I could see it in his eyes. He knew. I stepped back instead. No. You don't get that from me. You don't get to turn me into someone I hate. Dad sat slowly. I am sorry. I don't care. I should have called. Yes. I should have cleared your name. Yes. I was ashamed. Of me. Of myself. That answer hurt differently. I walked to the door. Dad said, Ethan. I stopped without turning. There is something else. I closed my eyes. Of course there is. Your mother knew. I turned. What? She didn't know at first. When? I told her 6 months after you left. My hand stayed on the doorknob. She knew I was innocent? Yes. And she never called. Dad looked down. No. I opened the door. He said, Don't blame her the way you blame me. I looked back at him. You don't get to tell me who I'm allowed to blame. Then I walked out to find my mother. Chapter 5. My mother's silence hurt more than his lie. I found my mother in the kitchen. Of course I did. Whenever our family was falling apart, Mom cooked. She stood at the counter slicing strawberries, and for one stupid second I remembered being 10 years old, sitting on a stool while she packed my lunch. She looked up. "Did you sleep?" Dad told me. The knife stopped. That was my answer. I closed the kitchen door. "How long were you planning to pretend, Ethan?" 6 months. Her face went pale. "So it's true." She put the knife down carefully. "Your father told me after he found out. And you believed him?" "Yes." "You believed I was innocent?" "Yes." The word came out like a confession. I stared at her. "Then why didn't you call me?" "I wanted to." "But you didn't." "Your father said." "I don't care what he said." "He said exposing Ryan and Dean could destroy the company." "What about me?" She started crying. "What about destroying me?" "I know." "No. Don't say that." "I do know. You watched me leave with one bag." "I remember." "You watched Dad tell me I was no longer welcome here." "I remember every word." "And 6 months later, you learned I had been telling the truth." "Yes." I stepped closer. "What did you do that night?" She covered her mouth. "Mom." I cried. I laughed bitterly. "You cried. I wanted to find you. Then why didn't you?" "Harold said bringing you back would force everything into the open. He said Ryan could go to prison, the company could fail, and our family name would be ruined." I stared at her. "So you protected the family name?" Her shoulders shook. "Yes. Not your son." "Ethan, please." "Which son, Mom?" She looked at me. "Which one did you protect?" I was afraid. So was I. "I know. I had nowhere to go." "I know. I slept in Ben's apartment for 3 months." Her face broke. "I didn't know that." "Because you never asked." The kitchen door opened. Chloe stood there. She froze when she saw me. "I can come back." "No," I said. "Stay." Mom wiped her face. "This isn't the time." "It's exactly the time." Chloe looked at me. "What happened?" "I found out everyone knew I was innocent." Her eyes dropped. Not shock. Guilt. I felt something cold settle inside me. "You knew too." Chloe whispered. "Ethan." "You knew." "I need to explain." "Then explain." Mom said. "Chloe, maybe." "No. Let her talk." Chloe shut the door behind her. Her hands trembled. "The night the money disappeared, I told your father I saw you near the office safe." "I remember." I lied. I stopped moving. "What?" "I never saw you there." My voice came out low. "Why?" She started crying. "Ryan asked me to." I stared at her. "Ryan?" "Yes." "He told you to frame me?" "He said he was in trouble." "And you helped him?" I didn't understand how bad it would get. "You told my family I was near the safe." "I know." "You told the police." "Yes." "You looked me in the face while I begged you to believe me." "I know." "And then you gave me back my ring." She covered her face. "I was a coward. I could barely hear myself." "Were you already with him?" Her hands fell. Mom whispered, "Chloe." I did not look away. "Answer me." Chloe swallowed. "Not physically." I laughed once. "That wasn't my question." She closed her eyes. "We had feelings." "How long?" "A few months." "Before the theft." "Before the accusation." "Before she stood beside me while everyone tore my life apart." I nodded slowly. "So helping Ryan wasn't just fear." "No." "You wanted him." I was confused. "You were engaged to me." "I know." "You didn't lose me because of the accusation." She shook her head, crying harder. "No. You had already chosen him." "I'm sorry." I looked around the kitchen. Every memory felt contaminated. Breakfasts. Birthdays. Chloe laughing beside my mother. Ryan stealing food from my plate. All of it suddenly had another shadow behind it. Chloe stepped toward me. "Ethan, please forgive me." I backed away. "Don't touch me. I have regretted it for years." Regret is what you feel after the damage belongs to someone else. The door opened again. Grandma stood there holding an old leather folder against her chest. She looked at Mom, then Chloe, then me. "Good," she said quietly. "Some of the truth is finally out." I stared at the folder. Grandma walked toward the table. I thought I had reached the bottom of their betrayal, but Grandma's face said another secret was still waiting. There is still more. Chapter 6. The secret they never expected me to find. Grandma placed the leather folder on the kitchen table. Mom stared at it. Mother, not here. Grandma gave her a sharp look. Where would you prefer? Somewhere Ethan cannot hear. I pulled out a chair. What is in it? Proof. Of Ryan? Of more than Ryan. Grandma opened the folder. Inside were copies of bank records, printed emails, and several handwritten letters. I picked up the first page. A transfer for $40,000. Then another. Then another account number I did not recognize. What am I looking at? Grandma pointed. That account belonged to Dean. I looked at her. And this one? Ryan. My jaw tightened. So, this is the money? Part of it. Mom whispered. Where did you get these? Grandma ignored her. I turned another page. The dates matched the week before I was accused. Dean moved the money. Yes. And Ryan received it. Yes. I looked at Mom. You saw these? No. Grandma said. Harold did not keep copies where anyone could find them. I kept turning pages. Then I saw my grandfather's handwriting. I stopped. Grandpa wrote this. Grandma nodded. My grandfather had been dead for 5 years, but I knew every crooked letter. I read aloud. Ethan has shown more responsibility than anyone expected of him. I want his position protected whether Harold agrees or not. My throat tightened. What position? Grandma sat across from me. Keep reading. The next page was part of a trust agreement. I understood enough to see my name. 30%. I looked up. What is this? Mom started crying again. Grandma said, Your grandfather left you 30% of Mercer Home Supply. I laughed because the alternative was shouting. No. Yes. I would know. You should have known. When? The trust transferred control to you when you turned 30. I turned 30 last year. I know. I looked at Mom. Her face told me she knew something. You knew this too? I knew your grandfather created a trust. I didn't know the percentage. Did Dad? Yes. So, for a year, I own almost a third of the company and nobody told me? Grandma said, That is correct. Who took the profits? Silence. I stared at Mom. Who took them? Harold and Dean handled the distributions. I laughed again. They stole from me twice. Grandma's voice was calm. That is one way to describe it. One way. The kitchen door opened. A woman I did not recognize entered carrying a briefcase. Grandma stood. Ethan, this is Rachel Shaw. The woman offered her hand. I'm an attorney. I shook it. Family attorney? Rachel glanced at Grandma. Not anymore. That almost made me smile. Rachel sat and opened her briefcase. Mrs. Mercer contacted me 3 months ago after she found references to your trust in old estate files. I looked at Grandma. You found this? I was looking for something your grandfather left me. Rachel continued. I reviewed the trust documents, company records, and recent distributions. And there are serious irregularities. That sounds polite. It is legal language. Try normal language. Rachel met my eyes. Money that should have been distributed to you was controlled by people who had no authority to keep controlling it after your 30th birthday. Dad and Dean. Yes. How much? I am still calculating. Enough to matter? Yes. I leaned back. What happens now? Rachel slid another document toward me. Legally, the 30% is yours. Can they fight it? They can try. Will they win? Not based on what I have seen. Grandma smiled faintly. I looked at her. Is this why you forced the reunion? Yes. You knew Dad would never tell me. Yes. Why not just call me? I tried. Guilt touched me. Grandma saw it. Do not waste time blaming yourself. I should have found another way sooner. Rachel cleared her throat. There is another issue. I almost laughed. Apparently that sentence runs in the family. Rachel turned to Grandma. Grandma nodded. Rachel said, Evelyn still owns 22% of the company. I looked between them. So, Grandma reached for my hand. I am transferring my voting rights to you. I stared at her. Grandma, I should have protected you 7 years ago. You did more than most. Not enough. Rachel pushed a final page toward me. With your 30% and Evelyn's voting rights, you would control 52%. I stopped breathing. I had walked into the house expecting an apology. Instead, the people who had thrown me out had spent years running a company I could now control. I looked at Rachel. Say it clearly. She did. Ethan, if you choose to exercise those rights, you control Mercer Home Supply. Chapter 7. This time, I was the one holding the power. For 10 minutes, I said nothing. Rachel closed the folder. Grandma watched me. Mom stood near the sink with both hands wrapped around a glass she was not drinking from. Finally, I asked, "What happens if I sell?" Rachel answered carefully, "Your shares. All of it. My shares. Grandma's voting control. Whatever gives me leverage." Grandma frowned. "Why?" "Because I could end this." Mom looked at me. "And what?" "The company." Her face changed. "Ethan." I stood. "You all protected Mercer Home Supply like it was more important than me. Maybe I should show you what it feels like to lose it." Grandma said, "Anger is understandable. Good. But anger is not always useful." I looked at her. I didn't ask for advice. "No. You need it anyway." My phone buzzed. "Ben." I walked outside and answered. "Tell me you didn't punch anybody," he said. "Not yet." "That sounds promising. I own 30% of the company." Silence. "Then, you what?" I explained quickly. When I finished, Ben said, "That family cannot do anything normally. I can control the company. And I'm thinking about selling." "No." I frowned. "That was fast. Because you don't want to sell?" "You don't know that." "Yes, I do. They used it to destroy me. They used a hammer too. You don't burn every hardware store." "This isn't funny." "I'm not joking." I leaned against the porch railing. "Ben, I could take away the thing Dad protected instead of me." "And what about the employees?" I said nothing. "How many people work there now?" "I don't know." "More than when you left?" "Yes." "Then some warehouse guy with 2 kids loses his paycheck because Harold Mercer was a terrible father?" I closed my eyes. "I hate when you make sense." "I know. I wanted one clean revenge." Revenge is rarely clean. The back door opened. Ava stepped outside. "Dad wants everyone in the living room." I told Ben, "I have to go." "Ethan." "What?" "Punish the people who hurt you. Don't become one of them." I ended the call. Ava looked at me. "What did he say?" The annoying truth. Inside, Dad, Ryan, Dean, Chloe, Mom, Grandma, and Rachel were waiting. Ryan pointed at Rachel. "Why is she here?" Rachel answered, "Because Ethan has legal rights you failed to disclose." Ryan looked at me. "What rights?" I sat. 30%. His face went blank. Dad stood. "Ethan, we should discuss this privately." "No. Privacy is how you buried everything." Dean said, "This is getting out of control." I looked at him. "You should be nervous." Ryan laughed sharply. "So that's why you came back." I stared at him. "What?" "You found out there was money." Ava said, "Ryan, stop." He ignored her. "You disappeared for 7 years, then suddenly show up when there's ownership involved." I laughed. "You think I knew? You expect me to believe you didn't? You stole my name, my future, and my family. Money is the smallest thing you took from me." Ryan stood. "I didn't steal your future." "No." "Did you steal the money?" His face tightened. Dean said, "Don't answer that." Ryan turned on him. "Why not? You're the one who changed the records." Dean went pale. Dad snapped, "Ryan." I leaned forward. "Keep talking." Ryan pointed at Dean. "He handled everything. I told him I was in trouble. He said he could fix it." Dean stood. "You ungrateful idiot." "So you admit it?" I asked. Dean looked at me. "I admit nothing." Ryan laughed. "You've been taking money for years." The room went silent. Dean stared at him. "Shut your mouth." Ryan's face twisted. "Why? You think you're the only one with records?" Rachel opened her notebook. "Recent money?" Ryan realized too late what he had said. I asked, "You've been stealing again?" "No." Dean barked, "Liar." Ryan turned. "You took more than I did." Dad sank into a chair. I watched their alliance collapse in less than a minute. For years, I had imagined exposing the truth. I expected satisfaction. Instead, I felt tired. Rachel asked me quietly, "What do you want to do?" Everyone looked at me. I thought about Ben. Then I looked at Dad, Ryan, and Dean. "I'm not selling the company." Mom breathed out. Ryan smiled. I held up a hand. "Don't." His smile disappeared. "I'm protecting the employees, not you." I turned to Rachel. "Start whatever process is required to remove Ryan, Dean, and my father from company control." Dad looked at me. "Ethan." I met his eyes. "You taught me family decisions have consequences." Then I looked at Rachel. "Now let's make sure the right people pay them. This time, legally." Chapter 8. Karma did what revenge couldn't. 3 days later, Mercer Home Supply no longer felt like my family's private kingdom. It felt like a crime scene with better furniture. Rachel sat across from me in the conference room. We found an attempt to delete financial files. "Dean." "Yes." "Did he succeed?" "No." I almost smiled. "Why not?" "Because I copied the relevant records before he knew I had access." "Remind me never to make you angry." "That would be wise." The door opened. Dad entered without knocking. He looked exhausted. "Can we talk?" Rachel gathered her papers. "I'll give you 5 minutes." Dad waited until she left. "Dean hired a lawyer." "Smart." "Ryan should too." "Also smart." He sat across from me. "I stepped down this morning." "I know." "The board accepted immediately." "That must hurt." He nodded. "It does." I expected satisfaction. I felt almost nothing. Dad studied me. "You wanted this." "I wanted the truth." "You wanted me out." "I wanted you unable to protect them again." He looked down. "That is fair." I stared at him. "That might be the first time you've said that." He gave a tired laugh. "Probably." My phone buzzed. A message from Chloe. "Please come home. Ryan took our savings." I showed Dad. He closed his eyes. "More gambling." "Looks like it." When I reached the estate that evening, Chloe was throwing clothes into a suitcase. Ryan stood in the bedroom doorway. "You called him?" Chloe snapped, "Yes." I stayed near the hall. "I'm not here to referee your marriage." Ryan glared at me. "Then leave." Chloe held up a bank statement. "He emptied almost everything." Ryan said, "I was moving money." "To where?" she demanded. "I had debts. You told me those were over." "I was handling them." "With our savings?" He looked at me. "This is none of your business." I laughed. "You made your debts my business 7 years ago." Chloe zipped her suitcase. "I'm leaving." Ryan turned to her. "Because of him?" "No. Because of you." He grabbed her arm. I stepped forward. "Let go." Ryan released her. Chloe looked at me. "I should have done this years ago." I shook my head. "Don't make leaving him about me." Her eyes filled. "I know." "Then leave because you finally know what you're willing to live with." She picked up the suitcase and walked past me. Ryan waited until the front door closed. Then he laughed bitterly. "There. Happy?" "No." "You got the company. Dad is humiliated. Dean is finished. Chloe left me. You did all of that. Don't pretend you didn't enjoy it." "I thought I would." He stepped closer. "You won." I looked at my brother. 7 years ago, I would have given anything to hear him admit that I had beaten him at something. Now the word felt empty. "No." He frowned. "What?" "I didn't want to win." "Could have fooled me." "I wanted my family to believe me 7 years ago." Ryan's face changed. I continued. "I wanted Mom to say, 'I know my son.' I wanted Dad to question one spreadsheet before throwing me away. I wanted Chloe to tell the truth. I wanted you to be my brother." Ryan looked toward the floor. "You always acted better than me. I worked harder than you. Same thing in this family." "No." "You decided my effort was an insult. You were Grandpa's favorite. That wasn't my fault. You had everything lined up. So you destroyed it?" He shouted. "I was drowning. And you climbed on top of me." Silence filled the hall. Dad appeared behind Ryan. He had heard enough. Ryan walked away without another word. Dad remained. "I owe you an apology." "You've already apologized." "No." "I made excuses." I waited. Dad came closer. "I knew you were innocent, and I chose silence because I was afraid of losing the company and Ryan. I told myself you were stronger. That was cowardice." I failed you as your father. My throat tightened. He did not say the company made him do it. He did not mention employees. He did not ask me to understand. That made it harder. I hear you, I said. Can you forgive me? Not today. He nodded slowly. I understand. Maybe not tomorrow either. I understand that too. The next morning, Rachel called. Dean's attorney wants to negotiate. And Ryan? He may face separate charges for recent embezzlement. I closed my eyes. How bad? Bad enough that he should take this seriously. Before I could answer, someone knocked on my office door. Ryan entered. His face had lost all its confidence. He shut the door. For the first time, my brother looked at me without pride, anger, or even one prepared excuse. I need your help. I stared at him. With what? His voice broke. Saving me. Chapter 9. I came home for the truth, not the family. Ryan stood in my office with both hands buried in his pockets. I need your help. You already said that. Then answer me. With what? The investigation. No. You don't even know what I'm asking. Yes, I do. You could tell Rachel the old transfers were misunderstood. They weren't. You could say Dean handled everything. You were involved. I was 22. I was 24 when you let everyone call me a criminal. That's different. How? You want me to lie. I want you to help your brother. You stopped being my brother when you used my life to cover your debt. I said I was drowning. And I said you climbed on top of me. I could go to prison. That depends on what the investigation proves. Good. Mom entered. Of course. Ryan told me he was coming. I'm sure he did. Ethan, please. No. You haven't heard me. I know what you're going to ask. He is still your brother. So was I. I am not asking you to lie. I am asking whether there is any mercy you can show. Where was that question 7 years ago? I deserve that. Yes. But I cannot change what I did. No. I can only ask you not to become cruel, because we were. For one moment, I saw myself at 24. I remembered standing in Dad's office, begging people I loved to believe me. I remembered thinking love meant sacrificing until somebody finally chose me back. That version of me would have saved Ryan. That version of me would have signed anything Mom put in front of me. I was not that man anymore. I won't lie for you, I said. But I also won't ask Rachel to destroy you. What does that mean? It means I tell the truth. Nothing more. Nothing less. You could do more. I could. And you won't. No. So this is revenge. No. Revenge would be inventing something worse. Justice is letting the truth stand without protecting you from it. I hate you. You'll survive it. He left. I'm sorry, she whispered. I know. Will you ever forgive me? I don't know. That's fair. For now, stop asking me to heal faster because you feel guilty. I can do that. 2 months later, I sat in the main conference room at Mercer Home Supply. The company had survived. Dean was gone. Ryan was facing charges tied to recent embezzlement, while his attorney negotiated the older case. Dad no longer controlled anything. I did. Ava sat across from me with a folder. You sure about this? I've never managed operations. You've been doing half the work without the title for years. She smiled nervously. Grandpa would have liked this. My throat tightened. Yeah. Rachel slid the new employment agreement toward Ava, Director of Operations. Ava stared at it. Ethan. What? Thank you. Don't thank me yet. I'm difficult to work for. She laughed. That runs in the family. Let's try breaking that tradition. That evening, I returned to the estate one last time before driving home. Grandma was in the sitting room. She looked up from her book. Leaving? Yes. For good. I thought about it. Not exactly. She smiled. That sounds healthier. I sat beside her. I thought coming back would fix something. Did it? No. Grandma raised an eyebrow. Nothing. I looked toward the fireplace. An old family photograph sat on the mantel. Dad stood behind us in it. Mom was smiling. Ryan had one arm around my shoulder. Ava was still a teenager. Chloe stood beside me, wearing my ring. I had loved that picture once. I got the truth, I said. And I learned truth doesn't give back lost years. No. It doesn't make people innocent again. No. It just gives you something solid to stand on. Grandma reached for my hand. I'm proud of you. For taking the company? For not becoming them. I swallowed. That was harder. I know. I stood and walked to the mantel. I picked up the photograph. For a moment, I considered tearing it in half. Instead, I set it face down. Grandma watched me. Why not destroy it? Because I don't need to. I looked around the room that had once felt like the center of my world. I spent 7 years carrying their shame like it belonged to me. Grandma nodded. And now? I smiled faintly. Now they can carry their own. I kissed her forehead and walked toward the door. Outside, the evening air felt lighter. My phone buzzed. Ben had sent one message. Still alive? I typed back. More than I was before. Then I got into my truck and drove away. I had come home because my family promised me the truth. I left knowing something better. The truth did not return my old life. It gave me permission to build a new one without asking anyone to believe I deserved it.